Tonight, we'll take a gentle walk through an old European city. The kind where time seems to move more slowly. Our destination is a cobblestone square at the heart of the old town. A place that has seen centuries of footsteps, laughter, and change. The square is small enough to feel personal, yet wide enough to hold 1,000 quiet stories in the spaces between the stones. It's autumn here, and the air carries the scent of rain on old stone and roasted chestnuts from a nearby cart. The streets leading to the square are narrow, paved with uneven cobbles that glisten faintly from a drizzle earlier in the evening. Warm light spills from the windows of the surrounding buildings, tall and close together, their plaster walls painted in shades of faded ochre, rose, and cream. Wooden shutters lean at angles, paint chipped, but still charming. The sound of your shoes tapping against the stones mixes with the faint hum of distant conversation. Somewhere above, a wrought iron balcony is draped with ivy turning bronze, and a single leaf drifts down through the lamplight before landing silently on the wet ground. The lamps themselves are glass globes fixed to ornate brackets, their glow reflected in the puddles that dapple the street. As you walk, the sound of the square grows clearer, the low murmur of people sitting outdoors beneath awnings, the gentle clink of glasses, the faint tune of an accordion somewhere nearby. At last, the street opens into the square. It's surrounded on all sides by centuries-old buildings, whose rooftops seem to lean slightly inward, as if they too want to listen to the stories being told here tonight. The square is paved entirely in small, rounded cobblestones, each one shining softly in the lamplight. There's a fountain in the center, carved from white stone, darkened with age. A sculpted lion spouts a narrow stream of water into a shallow basin, and the sound of the trickle blends with the quiet rhythm of the city. A few benches are scattered around the edges of the square, their wooden slats smooth from years of use. On one of them, An elderly man is reading a newspaper beneath a street lamp. His coat collar turned up. His small dog curled at his feet, watching the world without hurry. On the northern edge of the square stands a cafe called Cafe della Torre, named for the old clock tower beside it. The tower's face glows pale gold, its hands moving slowly against the darkening sky. The cafe's terrace is partly covered by an awning, striped in faded red and white. Tables are set close together, with small candles flickering in glass holders. A couple sits at one of the tables sharing a piece of cake, speaking softly. Their cups leave faint circles on the wooden tabletop, and when they laugh, it's the kind of quiet laugh that doesn't disturb the air around them. Inside the cafe, a barista in a white apron polishes cups behind the counter, while the hiss of steaming milk punctuates the murmur of voices. There's a chalkboard propped near the door, listing the evening's specials: pumpkin soup, mulled wine, and pear tart with almond cream. Across the square, an antique shop still has its lights on. Its window display shows a collection of brass candlesticks, porcelain figurines, and old postcards propped on tiny stands. The shopkeeper, a woman with silver hair tied into a neat bun, is carefully rearranging a shelf of books inside. She pauses now and then to flip through one, her expression soft and far away. You step closer to the window and see the titles. Faded bindings in French, German, Italian. The glass between you and the shop reflects the square's lamplight, layering the glow of the street over the ghostly shapes of the antiques. Somewhere inside, a clock chimes faintly, the sound muffled by glass and distance, counting off another quiet hour in this place that has known thousands of them. On the south side of the square, a row of trees stands in a line, their leaves halfway between green and gold. The branches sway lightly in the cool air, and every now and then a gust sends a shower of leaves drifting across the cobblestones. Some settle on the fountain's edge. Others come to rest against the walls of the cafe or the base of a lamppost. The scent of damp earth and chestnuts roasting wafts through the air. A street vendor stands beside a small cart with a curved tin roof, his hands tucked into wool gloves. The coals inside glow faintly orange, and as he opens the lid to stir the chestnuts, A curl of fragrant steam escapes. A young boy approaches, coins clutched in his hand, and waits patiently as the man scoops the chestnuts into a paper cone. The boy thanks him and runs back to where his mother sits, the two of them sharing the warmth from the little bundle of roasted nuts as the night deepens around them. There's a busker near the fountain, a man with a weathered accordion and a small hat at his feet. His music isn't loud, just gentle enough to fill the spaces between the conversations and footsteps. The melody has a wistful edge to it, something old that sounds like it belongs here. People passing by occasionally drop a coin into his hat. He nods without missing a note. At one point, a woman with a bright red scarf stops to listen, her hands wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee. The tune slows, softens, and you can almost imagine the square from a century ago. Carriages instead of bicycles, gaslight instead of electricity. The same melody drifting through the air. When he finishes, the busker leans his accordion against the fountain, stretches his fingers, and smiles to himself. The night seems to approve. You take a seat on a nearby bench, the wood cool beneath your hand. The air has that crisp feeling of early autumn, not yet cold, but promising to be. From here, you can see the square's rhythm unfold like a quiet play. Waiters glide between tables carrying trays of wine glasses, their surfaces catching the light like tiny mirrors. A cat slips between two flower pots near the cafe door, its tail brushing a table leg before it disappears into the shadows. The clock tower above ticks softly, its pendulum marking time that nobody here seems to notice. There's a comfort in how little happens, in how gently everything continues without effort. The square breathes, and you breathe with it. A small gallery occupies one corner of the square, its door propped open. Inside, warm light spills over the wooden floorboards and the white walls hung with paintings, mostly landscapes of nearby hills and vineyards, painted in amber and rust tones. A man in a tweed jacket stands behind the counter, sipping tea while sketching something in a notebook. He looks up and nods as you pass, the kind of nod that means you're welcome, even if you don't buy anything. Near the door, a painting shows this very square from years ago. The same fountain, the same buildings, But the trees are younger, their trunks thinner, and the people are dressed in coats and hats from another time. You look between the painting and the square outside, and the two scenes almost align perfectly, like two transparent images superimposed. The square hasn't really changed, just the people moving through it, leaving echoes behind, like footprints that never quite fade. As the night deepens, the square becomes quieter. The cafe closes its terrace doors, and the lights inside turn golden and soft. A few remaining diners linger over their drinks, reluctant to leave. The antique shopkeeper steps outside, locking her door and tucking her keys into her coat pocket. She pauses to look around the square for a moment before turning down a side street, her footsteps slow and measured. The busker packs away his accordion, counting his coins, then slings the instrument over his shoulder and disappears into the alley behind the fountain. The chestnut vendor douses his coals and wheels his cart away, the faint squeak of its wheels echoing briefly on the cobblestones. Now, only the fountain remains constant, its gentle trickle filling the air, the lion's mouth still pouring water, as it has done for centuries. You stand and walk slowly toward the fountain, the stones beneath your feet cool and smooth. When you reach it, you trail your fingers along the edge of the basin. The water is clear and cold, reflecting the glow of the lamps above. In the reflection, the old buildings look softer, their lines blurred by ripples. A single leaf drifts across the surface before sinking quietly below. The air smells of stone, water, and the faint sweetness of smoke from a distant chimney. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell chimes 10 times. The sound rolls through the square and fades into the maze of streets beyond. Near the edge of the square, an arched passageway leads to a narrower lane. You step under it for a moment. The arch is low, its ceiling lined with wooden beams darkened by age. Moisture has gathered in tiny droplets on the plaster, and the air feels cool and still. From here, you can look back and see the square, framed perfectly by the archway, the fountain at its center, the lamps glowing, the leaves drifting. It looks like a painting of peace, one that could hang in the little gallery you just passed. You linger for a moment longer, letting the quiet settle around you. When you finally turn to go, the square remains behind you like a memory, the kind that feels both far away and right beside you. The cobblestones continue their slow gleam under the lamps. The old clock tower ticks on. Somewhere, water keeps flowing from the lion's mouth, just as it always has. You walk back down the narrow street, past the shuttered windows and the scent of cooling stone, until the sounds of the square fade into the night. The city exhales softly around you, and the air grows still again. And as you walk, you can almost hear the echo of every footstep that has ever crossed that square, joining yours, one by one, into the long and gentle rhythm of history.